about dementia-friendly community work up in a very different kind of rural setting. Are you okay with that?
Just leave your phone. Yeah, there's any problem.
Thank you.
I had issues with glasses. Can you hear me? We live in a very geographically challenging part of the world, right up the top there, and when they always used to talk about the Olympic torch reaching 95% of Britain, we were the 5% that never saw it. So we are really remote and rural, which can also be very isolating, very lonely. And in fact, when my husband Andrew was diagnosed with vascular dementia 8 years ago, we were totally alone. No support, nothing, except lollipop. He was our mainstay in those days, probably. And then about 4 years ago, I heard about the dementia. I read the first dementia strategy. And I went home and I thought, now all these things that we need are going to be reaching us. And of course, it took a few more years to realize they weren't coming down to us. And then, in fact, it was Sandra's work that inspired us, me, totally and utterly. I heard about dementia-friendly communities. And I realized that governments, NHS Highland, Alzheimer's Scotland even, at the top, they all knew what we needed at grassroots. But since it wasn't reaching us, we were going to push up from grassroots and say, this is what we want. So I set about finding who the talents were, the resources within our community, linking them together, developing partnerships so that we could grow a vision of this dementia-friendly community together, which I recognized as in a rural area would be different to most other places because of our isolation. We set up a community interest company, a social enterprise, and you'll see at the bottom, I'm a director, and as is David Mason. All our work is centered around dementia families, what we want and what we need. So we are at the center of everything that is done. Our vision, doesn't matter, our vision and mission. There. Our vision is to recognize and embrace, obviously, challenges that life presents, and our mission is to get rid of myth and stigma. Not easy things in tiny villages where we live. The first thing we did was set up a DFC collaborative, and these were our partners. We have 20 people on this collaborative. They're all local organizations. NHS Highland, Alzheimer's Scotland were our two key partners, and they were from outside of our community. They came from Inverness and from down here in Glasgow. But without their help, we certainly couldn't have got to where we did. These, again, as Sandra said, these are the key people to us also. It's the people with passion and influence and everyone engaged with dementia. Those are key attributes for us to work in these partnerships. But the way we actually get our work done is we use task groups to turn our visions into reality. So we as dementia families will say, what do we want to address? And these are some of the things that we've dealt with. Now, I can't go through all of them. But the key ones for us, awareness raising, was a very important one. We linked in with our local newspaper, and we can write articles, we can talk about dementia, and they reach 97% of the population in Sutherland. So we know they were a huge influence in starting to get this dementia message across. But the same way, I think as you were saying over there earlier, we only open doors. In our tiny villages, you know, we have a bank that opens once a week with one person working the bank. They actually don't want to be trained to advanced levels. They absolutely need to know how would dementia affect me and how do I help the person coming in. So we open the doors. We talk to people about these issues, and if they want further training, we then move them to the professionals, where they then can get, obviously, more enhanced training. The other one, Voices for Change. People can't hear us up in East Sutherland. We're too far away to be able to really have influence. So the way we've done it is through websites. And I'm not going to talk about that today, but in fact, we have 4 websites that are alive and well and living very much in the suburb. Our whole way of working is about social inclusion. My husband said to me, I don't want to walk down our village street with a red bathing cap on my head saying I have dementia, so that the whole world knows. They probably know anyway, but he wants to be involved in our society. He wants to be part of that community. And it was being able to do that that actually got us to the situation where we are now. These are the 5 steps of well-being, which we all know. To my mind, the one at the bottom there, give, is such an important one, because Andrew, now that he is being able to do his art and his photography, he's actually giving back into the community again. So his sense of being part of the community and working in the community centre, he doesn't feel he's a person with dementia. He's a member of that society. So our challenge was to be able to get our community to understand what dementia was all about and to overcome the stigma attached to the diagnosis. And up until then, the usual way was to highlight the problems, write leaflets and talk about how much it costs, and that's really what was ever done. So we said, right, we're going to hold events, fun events, promote the positive, look for those little miracles, I love that phrase, and have a day for everyone, not just people with dementia. We just don't have enough people to have things only for people with dementia. So we actually pulled together a logic model, and the inputs, when we do our work, our input is we have a social enterprise, we have a collaborative, we have the community centre, and then we get some funding. Our activities are fun events, we have pamper parlours, we have awareness raising, and we do a whole bunch of things in the community centre. Art, bowls, games, all sorts of events. And our touch groups are also doing their work. We market and promote these events via our newspaper so that people are aware of what's going on. But the key really for our, the outputs that we get back from all of this obviously is participation. People are enjoying the activities. We can measure the number of people. We can evaluate the profiles of the people. And our short-term outcome is that people have a great time. Carers feel good. People feel they can access information because we really do it low-key. We don't push dementia. And our medium outcome then is that people feel more confident to come back to the next event because it's not going to be a day where they're depressed or unhappy. It's going to be a fun day with lots of exciting things happening. And if they want to know about dementia, they know where the people are to come and talk to, and we can then push them on to the professionals. And of course, the long term then is when you have this whole, all these events happening and the whole community involved in it, it then becomes hopefully a dementia-friendly community. So our hypothesis is that by promoting fun and social activity, involving the whole village, not just dementia families, is the way to go forward. And I suppose one of the key issues that we've dealt with is technology. Because we are so far away and so cut off from everything, we set up a technology task group to look at things that would help us. And two of the real issues that we've discussed and that have come out as positive results is we were told, bracing ourselves against the professionals, you can't tag people. And we said we want freedom to roam. So we got hold of some GPS trackers, and we were one family who tested it, and there was another family who tested. He was a person with dementia. In fact, it was David, our other our director. And in our family, in fact, my husband doesn't have insight to understand that I panic when I don't know where he is. A few weeks ago, I went down to the community centre and he wasn't there. So I called the tracking people, and he'd actually gone on the other side of the road and gone down to Ardgow, which is about an hour away. But once I knew where he was, I actually wasn't worried or nervous anymore, so I left it be. The other person with dementia, he gets lost in the village. We are in a tiny village. He calls up the tracking company and says, where am I? And to meet his wife, and they'll direct him down to that. So he has, from being a person who could never leave his home, he now can leave his home. We were every time we wanted to have tracking, the professionals told us you can't do it. So from grassroots, we've been pushing up and saying we want it, and now we've got it. Another project that we are doing that we're very excited about is with the AHPs. We want art therapists, we want dance, we want things that we can't get in our rural villages. So we've gone to the AHP people in Inverness, and we've got some funding from Living It Up. And we are figuring out how to do interaction from the mental health centre to all the community centres, and they will beam out programs linked into fun, linked into dance, but also putting health messages through it. And we are working on, we've got a pilot right now, and it's actually very exciting work that we're doing. Again, pushing up from grassroots. I remember hearing Sandra speak about art therapists 2 years ago, and have wanted somebody, but of course we'd never get it. But this way, through technology, we'll be able to get it. And the other key one, of course, Skype. If I didn't have Skype, I talk to Andrew every morning, every night when I'm away. I don't think he realizes how far away I am. And so this sort of technology is absolutely our bread and butter. And we are pushing it as a dementia-friendly community to say we want these things. The last area, really, sustainability. As a social enterprise model, which is what we are, we have a triple bottom line. So our social bottom line, we're moving in the right direction for all of that. Environment, we're working, our footsteps are not, are minimized. But financial. I actually really believe that we, as a community, we shouldn't have to rely on grants and on governments and on people forevermore. While it's nice to be able to do that, I don't think it's right. So we said we need to be sustainable. And in fact, one of the greatest challenges has been working with the public sector and as private sector, saying we are actually a business that has to make money to keep us rolling on. We are not a charity that keeps needing to bring money into our company. So we've actually had to understand the best of two worlds. People who are in the public sector who want transparency and have meetings and meetings and discussions, whereas I think you were saying earlier, you're a business, you need to get it done, but it's costing money when you don't do things. So the way we are going to do it is a community online shop, because we are too small to have a shop and we don't want to compete with other charity shops in our area. So we're going to do an online shop where we'll have people with dementia or part of our community. We'll put things up there. We will also do merchandising with our butterfly stuff. And the third phase will be actually from our projects. We will sell products from that. So that's how we are hoping to become sustainable. And we think that if the public and private sectors listen to us, and we as communities keep pushing up and doing our work, there'll be less pressure on statutory services and a better quality of life. And in fact, that's what the preventative work, I think, is all about.